Hey folks, how's it going? This is Seagull here, back with another Sims info/thoughts video. So this one is solely focused on some Q&A from SimGuru Grant. Some topics include why babies are the way they are in The Sims 4, cultures, disabilities, and more. So let's get right into this. Starting off with babies, when asked what made you guys decide on babies being objects instead of actual Sims, Grant says, "We had a lot of time pressures on base game, and we did the best we could with the time we had, similar to why we didn't have toddlers initially." Yep, well, that basically confirms what I thought was the reason behind this. It does suck that even though The Sims 4's babies have limbs in comparison to The Sims 3's babies, which look kinda like burritos, yeah, in exchange for getting the limbs back, they are now objects. Yikes. When are we ever gonna have great babies again? I don't know, but I have seen SimGuru Grant express interest in updating babies, so hopefully that could still happen at some point during The Sims 4's life cycle. Even here, he does still say that there is a chance that babies will be changed, so changing tables confirmed. Guys! So moving on to the next tweet, when asked about changing up gameplay because they tend to do the same thing over and over, he says, "Oh, just wait." What does that mean? It probably doesn't mean anything big. I saw people replying saying, "Oh, university confirmed." I don't entirely know for sure if any of those people were serious, but I don't see how that specifically means university. Though maybe that does mean some kind of pack is being announced soon, but also, we're literally getting closer to something being announced just because literally we are going forward in time a bit each and every day, so yeah, logically we're getting close to something, so I don't know. I guess he is just suggesting to wait for the next pack to come out and it might change up things. Sadly, it looks like giraffes will not be one of those things, though. No! I really wanted giraffes. Well, okay, actually, I didn't really think much about including giraffes in The Sims, but that would be cool to see, especially if we did get a world that's based in Africa. I'd love to see that. That could be really interesting and very different from worlds that we've received in The Sims so far. And that actually transitions pretty well into the next topic, culture. So Jasmine Lopez has a pretty good suggestion here about having the ability to specify our Sims culture or have a way to do this in some other kind of method. Like, if my Sim is from Salvadorada, she'll automatically kiss people on the cheek, and Grant agrees that this is a great idea. I would like to see something like this that could be set in Create a Sim, but not as a trait, and for two reasons. Because one, 3 trait slots in my opinion is already really limiting, so having culture take up one of those 3 is not really a great idea. Plus, it's like, if you have traits for cultures, then you're kind of setting up an implication that some Sims cultures are, like, I don't know, not equal exactly, because then you would have some Sims that have a cultural trait, and then you'd have some who have no cultural traits at all. So then it's like some Sims have culture and then some don't? I don't know. I think that would be a very weird situation. So how I would go about doing this is I would add a new section to the personality portion of Create a Sim where you can choose a Sim's culture. I guess by default, it could be American if you don't choose anything else because the game is made in the US. But you could choose from a few different cultures, with more potentially being added in through free updates to match any other sort of cultures that get added in through future packs. But I would actually want all the cultures to be available for free because, like, for example, you might want to have a Sim who has the Salvadoradian culture set for them, but they would live in San Myshuno or Brindleton Bay. So, yeah, I don't want it to necessarily imply that, oh, Salvadoradian Sims all have to be in Salvadorada, or all European Sims have to live in Europe, or something like that. And the cultures would have different names, I'm sure, just like with Salvadorada, where it is kind of like based off of South American culture, but it's not literally called South American. Of course, it would help to have jungle adventures so that you have all the things that come with the Salvadoradian culture skill, but I think patching in a couple of things like the greeting and maybe one or two of the new food dishes wouldn't hurt at all, really. And there is one more culture that I want to bring up, which is Native American, because Outlaw here is saying that they wish there were more hairstyles and clothing that would give a nod to their culture. Braids, beads, feathers, patterns, jewelry. And Grant says, one thing is that companies too often approach the content badly, casually mixing tribes and traditions as if they are all the same culture, but he will start pursuing this. And that's good. I would really like to see native culture be represented, because I'm not American, but I am Canadian, and natives are a pretty decent part of our culture, so I really would love to see that represented. But yeah, they gotta make sure that they get the representation right, because I vaguely remember already when they released the Waning Moon set in the Sims 3 store, some people got pretty offended over that, so that's definitely not something that I'd want to see happen again. The next things I want to talk about are disabilities and mental health in The Sims. This has been discussed a little bit in a few of my previous videos, but we have a specific idea here from Rachel Marie. What do you think about Sims with mental health issues like doubts of depression, bipolar, GAD, or autism as traits? And Grant responds saying, I think it is inappropriate as traits. Saying bipolar is the same as loves the outdoors feels wrong. But allowing for these things somehow is something we want to figure out. And I do agree with Grant on this one. I don't think we should have those take-up trait slots. One of those reasons actually being exactly the same as what I talked about with cultures a minute ago. That, yeah, taking up 1 out of 3 trait slots for a disability would not really be ideal. And just like he's saying here, putting bipolar on the same level as loves the outdoors feels wrong, because having a disability is not the definition of who you are. You can be disabled and still love the outdoors, or be a bro, or be a foodie, or any of that sort of stuff. So yeah, it just wouldn't really make sense for disabilities to be considered traits. Kind of like with cultures, I would have disabilities be like a separate mechanic within the user interface. Although, I'm not sure what would you call it. Like, would you call it disabilities? I'm not really sure, because I don't have any disabilities myself, so I can't relate to this topic, unfortunately. I wouldn't be the best person to turn to for this sort of topic. So I'm not going to claim that I know everything about how I think the best way to put disabilities in the game would be, but what I do know for sure is that I want to see disabilities be represented in the game. I think that's fair. I think that's a fair thing to want, but it is a very sensitive and divisive topic, so it really needs to be done right, and I think that is going to take at least a couple of years. And I think it can be done in a way that's respectful and does not force anything upon the players. And I do think it's most important to be as inclusive as possible. I know that whatever they're going to do, people are going to be offended. Whether they never include any disabilities in The Sims, some people will be offended. If they include some disabilities, some people will be offended. If they manage to put in a huge range of disabilities that fairly represent everybody, some people are still going to be offended. So I don't think it's a question of whether anybody is going to be offended or not. It's going to happen no matter what. And I'm not trying to say that every person who will be critical of this is unreasonable or a troll, because that's not the case. Even though, yes, trolls exist, there are people who will have reasonable criticisms, and I can't guarantee that this is something EA is going to do correctly right away. They have messed up a lot of things in the past with things that aren't related to disabilities, so we'll just have to see what happens. But I think it is important, especially in a life simulator, to be as inclusive as you can be while still keeping the game fun and not painting these sorts of things in a negative light. So, in summary, I am not an expert on disabilities and how to approach them in the best way possible, but I absolutely want to see more representation. I think that's been a really strong point of The Sims 4, so I'd really like to see that continue. But of course, disabilities should become a main staple of the series if they are ever figured out. I've been talking about The Sims 4, but they definitely should be included in The Sims 5 from the beginning, and mobile as well. Don't just leave mobile and consoles out of this. Definitely just have it across every platform that The Sims is on with its current and future installments. And that wraps up another Sims info/thoughts video. So feel free to let me know in the comments section below what you think about any of the topics that I discussed in this video, and be sure to leave a like or a comment or even subscribe, because it lets me know that you like my channel, my videos, and it helps you keep up to date more easily with the latest content from me. I do videos on The Sims, Sonic the Hedgehog, and more. So I will talk to you all later, and have a great day. Thanks for watching!